Hello, and welcome to the Mountain Mystic Podcast. I'm your host, Katie Hemphill, and I'm so happy to be here with you today, whether you are brand new to the show or a returning listener. I am so excited to sit back down here with my mic to bring you more conversation, more practice focused on our embodiment theme, this practice, this way of being that has everything to do with deepening into connection with self, deepening into connection with all parts of self, those which we have unskillful or unhealed relationships to, and those parts of self that we may not even be aware of that they exist from where I stand over in this space. Originally a scientist and engineer in the bioengineering field, in the neuroscience field, being in a space fully devoted to understanding the human body, the human mind, the human being from this deeply scientific perspective. And now moving over into the embodiment field, a field that is deeply experiential, a field that calls upon meditation techniques, the ability to play with your own awareness, your own attention, your own consciousness as you turn inward, connecting directly with self. This is a path of healing. This is a path of light-filled transformation. And this is a path that brings you into deeper, truer, more skillful connection with life that expands outside of yourself, with all of reality for that matter. And if you know me, if you've listening to what I've been talking a lot about lately, we are living in wild times. We are living in big times, you guys. And as we face a whole stream of great, massive, terrible problems, there is something fundamental, shall we call it a root system, beneath all of it. And if we can't address this, if we can't as a collective work through this, then it is my understanding, we call it my prognosis, that we're not actually going to be able to do the work that needs to be done here. And what I'm talking about is this embodiment work that brings us into direct connection with reality. I know that there are an awful lot of people out there that teach a spirituality, a spiritual path that is sort of bypassy, right? It's like it takes us out of reality and into a realm that exists somewhere higher and mightier than what is right here. And that is not what we're doing here, you guys. If that's what you're interested in, just letting you know that's not what we're doing here. What we're doing here is, yes, calling in and walking what I'm speaking to as a spiritual path, because it is a spiritual path, but it's a path that leads us into connection to truth. It's a path that leads us into connection with reality, not as some high and mighty state, not as some high and mighty principle, but as that which is lived and breathed and felt here and now, and that which, we hold in the space to co-create a brighter, more beautiful world where there is less suffering, yes, for our own sovereign individual selves, and also for all of life on this planet Earth. So if that resonates with you, if that speaks with you, then you're in the right place. And I'm so happy to be here in this space with you so that we can come together, co-create this new form of reality, not step into some spiritual space where we're bypassing reality and putting ourselves into some state where we can just kind of float by all the terrible things that are happening in this world. But that we can ground in, that we can center ourselves here in these very physical, very real bodies as these biological beings that we are. And so that we can show up more fully, more skillfully here on planet Earth. Because planet Earth needs us. The ecosystems, the forests, the oceans, right? All these different landforms that are here on Earth need humanity to show up, to protect them, to regenerate them, right? I speak a lot here to this land, these mountains, this forest I live in that's been burned down and burned down again and again and again. And humanity never gave her the attention to allow her to regenerate. So now I live in a mountain that was once a forest, but is now a desert. And it doesn't have to be this way. All that requires is a shift in attention, in intention, in focus, direction, aligning our hearts with this earth so that we can co-create a brighter, more beautiful planet Earth in all her different expressions. And yes, this includes the ecosystems, the forests, the different lands that we find ourselves in. And also, it includes humanity. Because us humans are just as biological. We are just as much a part of this planet as the trees, as the animals, as the rocks, the dirt, the roots, the soil. And until we recognize ourselves as part of this whole web of life, until we can truly embody ourselves once again, be embodied, be present in felt connection to these bodies, to the whole of our beings that we are. Well, until we do this, then we are going to continue to fight the same old goddamn battles that we've been fighting for far too long. The thing is, our world is coming to a bit of a tipping point, you guys. With climate change, with everything that's happening right now, we are coming to a tipping point. I get this disgusting visual of the zit coming to the head, right? Like, things have been going on too long. The earth is done living this way of being, a way of being where we live in separation from self, separation from the fact that we are nature, separation from nature, right? As humans have been living this narrative where we are separate from nature, that we are better than nature, that we just get to take from nature, and nature suffers, but it's okay because nature doesn't feel it. Like, bullshit. We are all just different nodes of life here on planet Earth. And when we take from one life form for our own egoic gain, all of life suffers. And it's a way of being that has to end. And this is what we're doing here. This is what we're doing here on the Mountain Mystic podcast. This is what we're doing at We Are the Forest, which is my Earth embodiment space for guided meditation, embodiment practice, and sacred earth activism. Okay, coming at you with some fire today. I'm fired up. I just finished our first Earth embodiment live circle. If you haven't heard about this, you guys, I'm so excited. It's one of my most favorite things to do is to be a circle facilitator to hold space for groups of humans, that could include you, to come together to hold heart-centered, soul-centered space, to hold a collective intention for healing, for light-filled transformation, and to hold this space for our own individual selves as the sovereign beings that we are, who are deserving of healing and light-filled transformation, and to hold space for that which is bigger than just our own selves. Again, maybe that's your relationships, your family, your loved ones, your friends. Maybe that's the community you're a part of, the communities you are a part of. Maybe that's the ecosystems where you live or ecosystems elsewhere in the world that are in deep need of help. These are the sort of spaces where we get to come together in co-creation and to hold that heart and soul centered intention for transformation that is needed, that best serves. And I've been holding this space for a year now, and the circle I've been holding, it's just incredible, you guys. It blows me away every time I show up to facilitate this circle. I get to experience other heart and soul-centered humans who are in devotion to life outside of themselves while staying grounded in the fact that, yes, each of our own individual selves are too deserving of the light. And we get to hold ourselves as the sovereign beings that we are in connection to the world outside of ourselves. And it just blows me away witnessing this unfold, seeing, hearing about what those who keep showing up for Circle are doing out in the world, the land they are tending to, the work they're doing. It's just incredible. The magic that's there, the power that's there. The problem is that this circle is not one that is held within my own network. And because of that, I've really been getting pushed recently to start my own circle so that I can invite people just like you into a similar space where we get to come together and co-create it. And that's what we're doing. Again, starting today, I'm recording this on April 1st, 2025, and we just held our first Earth Embodiment Circle. And we got to tune into heart and soul, and from that space, ground into earth, connect with earth, feel her support, feel that connection. And from that space, we got to be in asking, like, where does our attention best serve? And you can do this right now. Just, kind of maybe you take a little bit more of a kind of formal seat, feeling your seat in connection to the chair, the cushion, whatever's holding you. You don't even have to be seated, just feeling your feet on the ground beneath you. This is really what matters here, is feeling that physical connection with the physical nature of the structure beneath you, the ground beneath you. Feeling into that connection, feeling the weight of gravity connecting you with the physical earth beneath you. And from this space, maybe you drop down a little bit further. That is, drop your consciousness, your attention, your awareness down a little bit below where you're standing. Maybe you drop it all the way down into the earth, so the dirt, the rocks, the roots, the soil beneath you. Just a little bit of conscious connection with the earth, the ground beneath you. Then from this space, breathing into self, breathing into your heart, your chest, breathing down into your belly, your abdomen. Just taking several deep breaths here. Calling upon your breath to connect physically and energetically with self. So feeling into the expansion of your rib cage or your abdominal wall as you breathe in, are filled with air. Just letting that go, letting your breath naturally flow into the next one. Breathing into self as you center yourself within self. Centering your attention within self as you sit or stand grounded atop this earth. Breathing into self. And from this space, maybe you bring your attention more fully into your heart space. Connecting into your heart space. Breathing into your heart, being fully with your heart, letting your heart light up more fully. Then from the space, dropping your attention, your awareness down a little bit deeper. Kind of looking for that soul self. I often find that soul self is deeper down into self. But you can get there through your heart. So again, as you're connected to your heart, sort of dropping deeper down into self, looking for soul self. And as you're connected inward, heart and soul, you're just asking, in this moment, this ground you stand on, this moment in time, what in your life or what in your body could really use your attention? Your heart and soul-centered attention. Where in your body, where in your life, where in your communities, where in the ecosystems you live in, what could really use your attention? And just getting your head out of the way. Getting out of the way as you allow the answer to show up. Maybe it shows up as visuals. Maybe it shows up as pings or sensations in your body. Maybe it just shows up as a knowing. What is here? What is here asking for your attention? Where can you show up, heart and soul, to heal, to bring in more light, to co-create, to solve a problem? Where can you show up? Simple practice, a powerful practice. And we did it today in circle, and it was amazing. And with that, just an invitation to join me. Join me over in circle. I'm keeping them free at this moment. They're open to everybody. As I tune into the energy of this circle, and I can ask questions like, does it serve to put it behind a paywall? Does it serve to make it so that this is only a women's circle, which is what my other circle is right now. And what I keep getting is keep it open, don't put up any boundaries around it. Let humanity in whatever form shows up for this circle to co-create this circle. So long as, you as the human that you are over there understands that this is a heart and soul centered circle in devotion to the whole web of life, in devotion to planet Earth, life in all its forms. That includes life that expands outside of you, that includes your own sovereign self, getting to express yourself. Okay. So just taking a deep breath here, we're going to transition a little bit. Letting that settle in, maybe holding to that to the side, or I don't know, maybe you keep that front and center, really asking yourself, is this something you want to show up for as you move forward? Or maybe not, maybe you just set it aside as we move into the rest of today's episode. I'm sitting down today to speak to you because I really want to get at this point that I've been, I get that visual of the hammer on the nail, really hammering in, getting focused, this idea that has to do with this journey inward, this journey into self as the skillful path to that which expands outside of self. So let me explain a little bit differently. So much of the premise of everything we do here has to do with connection to the whole web of life, right? The whole web of life, whether that's like I lift up my head and I just have this glorious ponderosa that lives in my front yard. Big, beautiful ponderosa. And the amount of time I spend connecting into this ponderosa, you guys, this isn't a new thing though. Like I've been connecting into ponderosas for years now. They are a form of nature that speaks to me more loudly than anything else. Whether they are the big, beautiful expression like the one in my front yard, or whether they're the skeletons out on the burn scar, the skeletons that have been standing a quarter a century after the fires that burned them, those that lay crisscrossed on the floor still, 25 plus years later, have not decomposed because we have turned this land into a desert and things don't decompose out there. And it's this wild land and it speaks to me. And also, life speaks through other human forms, right? And humans are going to speak very differently than trees do. Let's be clear on that. Learning the language of life in all its different expressions and doing so, right? Learning to tune in, to connect with life, to listen in life so that we can, better support each other. I'm learning to listen to what the land needs so that I can help it. Just like I listen to a family member or friend so that I can connect with this person, so that I can support them, so that I can help them if it's needed, or so that I can share in joy when the time is right. Well, life expresses in all its different forms, and there is a need to be able to connect with life in all its different forms because, we live in a world, this narrative, especially in the Western world, that is focused on disconnection. It is focused on the individual in separation from the web of life. And that becomes a story of me versus you, us versus them, humans versus nature. And this disconnection has caused extreme harm in our world. It causes extreme mental, emotional, psychological distress. It causes physical health problems, right? As we disconnect from our bodies, we have these physical health problems that arise. Of course, we have the ecological crisis we're finding ourselves in. Of course, we have the wars that people continue to start and directly harm one another in that way, right? And the list goes on, you guys, with the point being that this disconnection manifests itself at all levels. And the question becomes, what is the path to healing this? What is the path to bringing all of us forward into a brighter, more beautiful version of it all? And I can't sit here and tell you everything that needs to happen, right? The magnitude of all that's unfolding right now is immense. And it's not me sitting here telling you what to do that is going to address it. But it is more individuals coming online, becoming awake, waking up, which is really a process of becoming more aware, more deeply connected in, acting with greater skill. So it's me over here sharing what I'm able to share, guiding you through the practices that I'm able to guide you through, as you over there listen, receive, respond as you will, taking the action that you are best called to take so that you can, continue this ripple effect, helping to heal, helping to transform into a brighter, more beautiful version of it all. That's what's going on. That's what's going on. That's the idea. Why I started We Are the Forest. So that we can grow this brighter, more beautiful forest for all of life, for all the ecosystems, those that live within self, those that expand outside of self. But I still haven't gotten to the fine point that I'm trying to hammer home, right? This idea that if we're going to do this, the path to do it begins with going inward. You guys, we have this way of doing things where we get caught up in it all, right? Like things are really bad right now and we need to be in action. So what we do is we just jump into action. And it's like, I think about my 94-year-old German grandmother, right? That always has to be doing. And I think about how that sort of ethos has been programmed in me. Like I always have to be doing. I always have to be doing. But when we're always doing something, when we're always in action, when we're always trying to solve a problem or, create some change, how do we know that we're actually being skillful? How do we actually know that we're aligned, doing the best thing that we can possibly be doing? If we're always in action, how are we truly in tune with the results of what we're doing? So much of what I teach here is the ability to pause, right? To pause, to tune in to what is actually here and now. That practice, find your feet on the earth. Breathe into self. Find your grounding. We spoke so much to grounding in our last episode. I speak so much to grounding all the time because it is step one. Ground into self, ground into this planet. This will slow you down. This will take you off that chaotic wheel that is taking you unskillfully into the next moment. And from here, you get to create space. And in this space, you then get to consciously, skillfully fill it with what serves. What matters? What is here for me to see, feel, otherwise know? What is here? And then from this space, you then get to choose where to best place your attention. Where can you best be in action so that, yes, you can show up to do the important work you need to be doing. But we cannot do that unless we first do all those embodiment steps. Grounding in, creating space, listening, tuning in. What is here? What matters most for me to know here in this moment? May I feel it. May I see it. May I hear it. May I smell it. Tuning into all those senses, the external senses, the internal senses. What is here? But again, the problem, right? The problem is that we've been cut off. We've been separated, disconnected from all these powerful parts of self that allow us to tune into reality. Again, this has happened in so many different ways, whether it's the religious narratives about how the body is sinful and we can't trust it, whether it's the narratives that I learned in science and academia that is about putting my head on a pedestal and that tuning into my emotions or other parts of self is unskillful. Right? There's all these different narratives that we have in our lives that disconnect us from our bodies. Maybe it's because your body was shamed at some point in life. So now you have this wound that disconnects you from self, right? And we all have all of these to varying degrees. Please recognize that, I just named 3 different ways where we live these separation narratives, narratives that go beyond the mind, that are embodied, that live in the cells that make us up, right? And we all live some degree of them because we all live in the same collective web of life. But given the path you've walked, right, your karma, the karma you came into the world with, and maybe you just want to speak to that as the epigenetics that you inherited from your parents. Maybe you have another way to think about karma. The karma, the communities, how that set you up with the narratives that you grew up with. All this matters, and it's all instilled within us, again, to different degrees. So when we do embodiment work, right, what we do when we do our embodiment work, when we turn our attention inward, what we're doing is we're healing from the wounds, right? We're healing the wounds that have been caused by these unskillful narratives. We're healing the wounds that have been done onto us, or maybe we co-created in ourselves. We are healing these wounds as we're dissolving the narratives that no longer serve, and as we're replacing them with narratives, with belief systems that do serve. And here we are replacing it all with the narrative, with the belief system that has everything to do with skillful, loving connection to self, to all parts of self. And it's a process. It's a process. It's not done here and now. It's a process that takes time. But it's important. It's important because when we cut ourselves off from parts of self, or maybe I'll reframe that to say when parts of self have been cut off, maybe by others, maybe you've been disconnected from the depths of your heart because of a broken heart in a relationship or a family system. Maybe you've been cut off from your intuition because of a family belief system that basically speaks to a disbelief in intuition or a mistrust of intuition, right? Maybe you've been cut off from how intelligent or creative your mind really is because you had a teacher that didn't see or appreciate your brilliance because maybe that teacher was only focused on something else, right? I think we have all these ways that this patterning has been done to us, and we've moved through life. And our work here gets to be calling back all those parts of self, connecting in skillfully so that we can be present with reality, become more discerning, act with more skill. That is sort of the bare bones of what we're doing here, right? The basics. Okay. So once again, I promised you guys that a big part of this conversation today was really refining, right? Honing in on this idea that if we are going to more skillfully connect with the world outside of self, the path to do so is to go inward. And I'm hoping at this point you've gotten a fair understanding of what I am speaking to. But to go back in, right, to kind of address this directly one more time. Let's return to the fact that you, as a biological being, were created in connection to the whole web of life, right? And that's maybe some like spiritual way of speaking to it. But I mean this very physically. I mean this very biologically, right? We as humans evolved alongside life. We are not separate today, just as we were not separate 100,000 years ago. We as human beings have evolved alongside life. We as human beings have evolved within the web of life. We are intricately connected into all of it. Now, we have narratives and belief systems that disconnect ourselves from it, but that doesn't mean that it's true, right? Just because somebody tells you you are separate from nature, that you are above nature, that doesn't make it true. And when you live this narrative that is untrue, then you cause a rift between your reality and the highest, the truest form of reality. And with this rift, harm happens. With this rift, unskillful choices happen. What we are doing here is healing this rift, mending this rift, bringing you back into connection with truth, with reality. If we don't do this, if we continue to live the narrative that we are separate, right? That our minds are separate from our bodies, that us individuals are separate from nature, we live a distorted version of reality that is unskillful, that causes harm. The only way to mend this, the only way to truly mend this, to get to the festering root system and to heal it, to call in light in the form of truth to it, is to go inward, to heal those connections with self, to know what we truly are as the whole sovereign individual beings that we are. Now, you can do this other ways. You can do this other ways as well, and I invite you to do it. But if you don't also do the embodiment work I'm speaking to, I assure you, you're not going to get there. So, for example, you can go out into the forest and plant trees on this earth, something I highly encourage, something I am actively doing, something I'm asking for support in doing. This is something that I am working on to heal this planet, to heal the forest, to regenerate the forest. But if I do that from a space that is disconnected from self, of only casting my gaze outward, then I'm not going to actually be in tune with the land. Because my body and all these different parts of self, my heart, my soul, just as much as my skin and my eyes, right? All these parts of self are the very channels through which nature communicates with me. So if I go out onto the land and I'm not in tune with all these different ways that nature connects with me, how am I going to know what I'm actually doing? You know, the results, the impact, whether this is actually the skillful thing to be doing. The way we receive information is through these bodies, through all the different parts that make us up. Yes, our eyes, right? Our eyes are something we honor, we value, but also our hearts, also our skin, right? The feeling of your hands on the soil. This is information that matters. Sound. What happens when you go outside onto the land? You close your eyes and you open up. What do you receive then? The embodiment path is a path of healing self, of working through our own shit, mending our own wounds, calling in the light, the joy, the fulfillment that we want. And it is a path of reconnecting, of bringing online all these parts of self that are here so that we can connect with that which lives outside of self. Does this make sense? The path to connection outward has to go hand in hand with deepening into connection inward. We've been taught these narratives of separation, which means we have lost the ability to tune into the world around us. We have to be able to tune into the world around us with more skill these days. It has to be done. And to do this, it means a healing, a reconnection, a deepening into connection with self. Whew. Big breath on that one. Did I get there? Did I get there? We've been going on for about 40 minutes, guys, and it's starting to feel like it's time to bring this to a close. And I'm feeling pretty satisfied. I'm feeling pretty satisfied with what I was able to bring through today to, again, get at the heart of this question, this belief that I have, this teaching that going within is the path to more skillfully connect with that which is outside of ourselves. And what a beautiful path it is, because we get to do everything all at once. It's not about me focusing on me or me focusing on the world outside of me. The embodied path is a one that honors and demands that we do our own work as we do work outside of self. And if we are going to offer ourselves to show up to do work outside of self, we're not doing it if we're not also working on our own selves. They go hand in hand. And of course they do, because we're all connected. We're all just different nodes, this web of life, different beings on this planet Earth, all woven together in more ways than our minds will ever comprehend. Okay, guys. We didn't do as much practice today as we've been doing lately, but as I said, I just held circle. I just held our Earth Embodiment Circle, and we did more practice there. I'm recording so many practices for you guys these days. Earth Embodiment Circle, I'm bringing that to you for free. I've been on YouTube a lot lately. I'm doing live YouTubes over there. I decided so often when I record a YouTube video or a podcast for that matter, I'm really just sitting down, hitting record and going for it. So I figured I might as well just make it live and let you be there and let you co-create this space, to leave comments, to ask questions. And we held our first YouTube live a couple weeks ago, and we had people in the comments offering their own experiences, offering questions. It was amazing. It was a co-creative experience, and I'm looking for more ways to do that. So if you're interested in that, join me on YouTube, join me in my live circles. Both of those are free. I'm also opening up more kind of paid opportunities to go deeper into practice. I just reopened the membership. This one I actually haven't talked about yet. I don't think I've talked about this one yet. I started the We Are the Forest membership back in 2022. And at the time, I really wasn't sure what we were doing, only that, I'd started creating these embodiment practices and these guided meditations, but I didn't really have the language for it yet. I didn't have a greater depth of understanding for what I was doing. So I ran that membership for a few months, and then I closed it down because I wanted a deeper understanding of what we were doing here. And I've done that, right? And that's what we're doing here, right? I'm here these days on podcasts like this and YouTube videos and writing, speaking more to the philosophy, right? Putting words to what we're doing here. But I wanted to open up that membership again to focus on practices. And that's what I've done. You can find that on the website. I think it's like the first tab under the home button. You can go view the membership, currently called The Forest. Sign up for membership. There are different options. I want this to be a space where you can pay me an amount that feels aligned for you. Know that these proceeds go to my ability to, keep this website going, keep all the tech and all the stuff going. It's expensive, guys. And also to help reforest my home mountains. Proceeds help to buy seeds and saplings to put into the ground to grow new forest. So check that out at upwardslopes.com. So other things that's happening, I just put together a new program. I'm not advertising that one yet, so I'll just sort of put that little whisper in your ear that there is a new focused, structured program coming out. I'm so excited for this one. It is a more focused teaching on the embodied path, taking you step by step through it. I'm really excited to offer it to you in the next few weeks. Okay. Gonna close down here for today. Thank you so much for hanging out with me today. As always, if something's pinging you, something's speaking to you, reach out to me. Let me know. What's going on for you over there? What are you experiencing? Help me make this more of a co-creative experience. Share the podcast with a friend. Make sure you're subscribed. Leave a review so that others can know what you're getting out of the show. If you're listening on YouTube, leave a comment. All the things that matter, that help nourish this community, that help support it, that help it grow. All right. Just end on a breath together. Just end on one big, beautiful breath together. Alrighty, guys. Once again, thanks for hanging out with me today. And I look forward to catching you next time.